Well, if you have yet to stop into the Rehoboth Beach Museum, you're missing out. There's all kinds of cool displays and exhibits to see and check out, and that is where Charlie Sokaitis is now, exploring the displays and even checking out some of the events that are coming up with the Rehoboth Beach Museum. Charlie, take it away.
We are here at the Rehoboth Beach Museum. I am here with Heidi Nasstrom. She is the executive director here. And Heidi, you guys have what seems like a million great exhibits, but let's start with the one that's right behind us here. What are all these photos and why are they important?
Well, what you see here, Charlie, is our Delaware Beach Life Photography Contest exhibit, which we host annually from the well-known magazine Delaware Beach Life. The exhibit will be up through May, and in February, on the 27th, it's a Thursday evening at 5 o'clock, we're having a public program with the judges of the exhibit, and they're going to talk to us and their visitors and guests about what it takes to have a award-winning photograph in this exhibit. And so guests will be invited to come and listen to the three judges who worked on the exhibit, Terry Plowman, Carolyn Watson, and Eric Coverdale are going to be here, and guests will be invited to bring their own photographs so that they can get some advice on how to improve their shots. It's going to be a really nice evening.
That's really exciting. I know anytime that you're talking about an artistic endeavor, it is nice to get the experts to go, okay, this is good, but if you had tilted this way, or if you'd used the sun a little bit different, you could have made it a more striking photo. When these come in, what is it like as you start to see these all come in and get ready to put them on the wall?
Well, it's really exciting because the judging takes place throughout the year, and many of them are featured on the cover of Delaware Beach Life magazine. Like this one, for example, was on the cover pretty recently. And on the cover, it's just this beautiful gossamer white bird. It's an amazing photograph. So it's nice to get to meet the photographers that are responsible for these pieces and get to hear from them, like what went into it, like was it staged, did it just happen before their eyes? And it's interesting to learn their artistic process. Early, when we opened the exhibit in the middle of November, we had all the photographers here, so we had a chance to talk with them.
Now, this isn't the only thing you guys have going on, obviously. There's a lot happening here. Come on with us down this way. We have a little bit more of an exhibit to look at, and this picture specifically, we were talking before we started recording here. Take me through what this is, because I find it fascinating.
Right. Well, in the middle of March, we're going to open up an exhibit of recent acquisitions, and this photograph looks old, but what it pictures is the inside of Horns Pavilion, which I'll show you when we go downstairs on the diorama. Horns Pavilion was right on the beach at the beginning of Rehoboth Avenue. It was washed to sea in 1914, but it was a pier with a merry-go-round and shops. And this image is of the inside of one of the stores that was in Horns Pavilion. And what you can see on the shelves are all these souvenir plates that people could purchase back in the day. And in our recent acquisitions exhibit, we're going to include this photograph, which was just recently given to us by Judge Jim Horn, a descendant of the Horn family that had the pavilion at the beginning of the 20th century. And then we also got, this past year, one of these souvenir plates. So you can tell from these decorations around the edge that this plate dates to the early 1900s, and it says Souvenir of Rehoboth Beach, Delaware. Oh, and the date is on it, has a calendar, 1910.
I mean, and it's in incredible shape as well. We're going to take a break here, but we are coming right back to the Rehoboth Beach Museum. We've got more to talk about, so stay with us. Welcome back to CoastLife. We're still here at the Rehoboth Museum. There's just a million things that you got to see if you make your way down. And I am still here joined by Heidi Nasstrom, the executive director out here. Heidi, when we were upstairs, we were talking about the pavilion that got washed away. You have a great diorama here.
Right.
It shows the pavilion. Can you show us where that is and what it is?
Sure. So what you see here is a diorama that was on display last summer and has now been gifted to the museum by its creator, Mr. Paul Lovett, a local historian. And upstairs, we looked at a photograph of the interior of a store that was in this pavilion, which was called Horn's Pavilion. It had an emporium in there where people could buy souvenirs. There was a carousel, and then there was a pier that went all the way out into the ocean. The problem is that it was on the Atlantic Ocean. So come 1914, a huge storm washed it away and it no longer exists. But we do have some of the artifacts that document its presence. And Paul Lovett, the creator of the diorama, he gives diorama talks here at the museum. And even though we're not open to the public right now until the beginning of March, he's giving his next diorama talk on February 10th, which is a Monday morning at 10 a.m. People can sign up online, reserve a spot, and it's $10 a person, and all that money helps us keep the museum open. And we had a diorama talk yesterday where there were 13 people here, and Mr. Lovett is a very entertaining speaker, so you can sign up for those talks at rbmuseum.org under the events page.
And there is all kinds of history on this diorama.
Yes.
There's a million things to learn if you come to these talks. But before we started rolling, you were telling us about one that I found fascinating, and it is just this little rope line that's right in the beach. And if you're somebody from our era, you may look at that and go, what is this? Why? Can you explain why these were important?
Yeah, well, we don't have them on the beach anymore, but back in the day, people had to wear wool bathing suits that once they got wet, became very heavy. And so this rope, if you wanted to go out into the water, you had to hold on to it, or you could hold on to it so that your suit wouldn't drag you under.
Different times. We've advanced a little bit in the swimsuit technology era.
Right.
Now, even though this entire thing is incredible, it's not the only thing you guys do. We've covered that. You've got some stuff coming up with an African-American exhibit. We don't have any photos of it just yet, but it's important. So tell us what that is.
Yeah, it's super important because nobody has done an exhibit on the very important African-American heritage and history of Rehoboth Beach. And so this summer, as our big summer exhibit, we're going to host an exhibit called Celebrating African-American Rehoboth, and it's going to cover a huge period of time, 1790 to 1970. So we're going to be looking at Avery's Rest, when the first settlers, non-Indigenous people, were moving to the Rehoboth area. Rehoboth Beach did not exist yet, but there is evidence of enslaved Africans at that site, which is local. And then we end the timeline in 1970 when the Rehoboth High School, which is where Rehoboth Elementary School is now, when they integrated.
Now, this whole place runs off donations in
Yes.
large part. So if somebody at home wanted to donate to the museum, how would they go about doing that?
Well, thank you so much for asking that question, Charlie, because yes, the Rehoboth Beach Museum operates on the kindness of the donations of its membership and its guests. And so on our website at rbmuseum.org, people can make donations. They can also call the museum if they'd like to speak to somebody and do it in person, because not everybody wants to get on the computer and do that.
Well, if you're going to do it, give them a call, go on the website, get after it. But for right now, we're going to toss things back to Leah in the studio. Everybody, if you get a chance, though, come down and check out the Rehoboth Beach Museum.
Charlie, I'm jealous that you got to hang out with Heidi at the Rehoboth Beach Museum, but you definitely want to check out all the events that are going on at the Rehoboth Beach Museum. Coming up on CoastLife, though, we are taking a trip to Lewis, and we're checking out what is in style and fashionable for 2025.